All right, it's good to see you guys. We are going to cover the wrist locks and the arm locks. We have 13 wrist locks and arm locks that we need to cover. A couple of things. This is for the purple belts going to brown belt for the first red stripe. And this is probably some of the most complicated material that you have to know in the advanced class until you get to the immobilizations and throws. So we will go through it step by step just to make sure that you understand it. Couple reminders about wrist locks and arm locks. Remember, first of all, every time you attack one arm, we always use two hands, okay? I know it's very tempting sometimes. We want to say wrist lock number one, and we go like this, and you want to do it with one hand, but remember, we always attack one hand or one arm with two hands, okay? That way then we're not as likely to slip and lose it. The second thing is, when you're learning something like this, you need a willing partner. It is really, really hard to learn a wrist lock if the person's not letting you do it. So when you're learning these, you need to do it with a willing partner until you get it down. Then sometimes you can force it. There are little tricks of things that we can do. Plus, don't forget, in a self-defense scenario, most of the time we don't start with the wrist lock or the arm lock. We hit them or strike them or disorientate them before we try to do the wrist lock or the arm lock. So please keep that in mind as well. Also remember, when you work with a partner on the wrist locks and arm locks, about the tap out system. Remember, we learned to tap ourselves or tap our partner, letting them know, ouch, that hurts, please don't do that anymore, okay? And that's one of the things that we use. Now, I know right now we're trying to work social distancing, so if you need to, maybe you can, or if you don't have a partner, you can practice in the air, imagining doing it, but really it's very difficult to learn these without doing it with a real person. So that's, of course, why we're going to do it this way. So we're going to go ahead and face each other, and we bow. And we're going to go ahead and start with wrist lock number one. Now, to help you with wrist lock number 1 and 2, you'll notice that both of them I'm going to reach out with my thumb down. The difference is with wrist lock number 1, I'm doing it same-sided. With wrist lock number 2, my thumb is down, but I'm going to the cross hand, okay? But every time I attack or practice in teaching these, I always attack the same arm. So like when in class, we'll do everything to the right arm, then once you get it down, then we want to come back and try to make sure you can do it with your left arm. All right, but in graduation, we normally do it against the right arm. So wrist lock number 1, I'm doing the same side hand. I put my thumb down, and I'm trying to put the thumb right in the middle, between the middle finger and the ring finger. I want to get that thumb part right there. I put the other hand here, and then the goal is to do two things. I'm pushing his hand here, and I'm also rotating it or making it a circle going this direction. So I'm pushing it in and I'm turning it at the same time. That's what we call wrist lock number 1. And then if your partner ever taps out, that lets you know, ouch, that hurts, please don't keep going on. Now, as I go through these, most of the time I'm not going to put him in that far pressure, but at the same time, you always want to pay attention to your partner. And by the way, the better thing is, instead of tapping yourself, is tap your partner. People feel things before they hear it. And that's important to understand that, okay? So wrist lock number 1, I'm here, I reach same side, I turn it over, I put the other hand here, and it's like I'm turning and pushing it down. One other little thing is make sure to keep their elbow in close to their body. You'll find if it's out here, it takes longer, they have a lot more flexibility. When you bring the elbow in, it goes very quickly. And then the last thing you want to learn to do, especially with wrist lock 1 and 2, is you should be able to include your body in the movement, okay? So if I do it with this other hand so you can see that, you can see I can put the hand right against my body, and then once again, now I'm using my body as part of the movement. We lock it to our body. Wrist lock number 2, so this is number 1. Number 2, I use the cross hand, and I put my thumb right inside this web spot. See this little web spot? We call this large intestine number 4. There's a little pressure point right there that's kind of annoying. And so we take that part of the hand and we go right into that pressure point, and then we're flipping the hand over. And then from this position, once again, I put it against my body so I can turn it. And once again, I'm doing two things. I'm rotating it, I'm making a circle. At the same time, I'm pushing it in. So you want both the turn and push in at the same time as you do it to the body, okay? So that's wrist lock number 2. So once again, number 1 was here, and number 2, we went this direction, okay? Number 3, I'm going to take my hand and I just put my hand right against the wrist. I take the other hand, I reach behind the elbow, and the goal of this, when you're brand new with this, what you're trying to do is just grab at the sleeve and you flip the elbow over. So if you, to help you see this better, see I grab behind the elbow and I'm just flipping the hand so that his palm goes up, okay? And that's why I have this hand right by the wrist. This hand is here, and I'm just simply doing that so I can slide the knife edge right on his shoulder, okay? Eventually, when you get better at it, there's a nerve right here called the ulnar nerve, and that's the one I want to grab, and that can be very annoying. Whoops, it's right up here, I'm sorry. Wasn't getting that. There we go. So that's called the ulnar nerve, all right? So once again, let me go ahead and demonstrate this. So this is wrist lock number 1, we already covered. This is wrist lock number 2. So number 3, I put my hand against the wrist, I go behind the elbow, I slide this through, I get the knife edge right against the shoulder, and then I reach over. See how I reach over? Everybody wants to reach underneath, but this will slide out real easily. I go here, I try to get my body behind his elbow so that again I can use the body as I pull on that wrist. Okay, so that's number 3. Number 4, I'm trying to take my thumb to his thumb. And so is that better? Okay, so number 4, I'm trying to put my thumb inside of his thumb. And this is kind of difficult, but when the person is standing there, most people have their thumbs just right next to their body. So all I'm doing is flipping this hand over, hooking my thumb inside his thumb. So sometimes I like to call this the thumb disappear trick. All right, so our thumbs disappear. I take my ridge hand or the cocoa like this part of the hand, or the ridge hand, and I strike inside the bend. I make his elbow go right against me, and then I'm just pushing in his hand. And again, I'm doing 2 things. I'm pushing it this way as I'm turning it, and that's what creates the pain or discomfort. All right, so once again, I turn this hand up, strike, go behind, and notice how I grab the other arm, and then I'm just simply here, okay? Now, some people like to do this. There's nothing wrong with it. I just feel more secure here, but sometimes if you got a really big person or someone bigger than you or stronger than you, sometimes getting that second hand here. The key to that is make sure the wrist is as high as the elbow. If you go like this or you lose it, it's going to slide right out, okay? So you want it very, very even or flat as you do that, okay? So this is number 4. Number 5, you just make a triangle like this. You go behind the hand like this, and I'm lifting it up. I want the elbow against my body, and then I'm just pushing down the hand here, okay? So let me demonstrate it here, just like this. So I've got this triangle right around his hand, and I'm just pulling it down. All right, so that's number 5. Number 6, we do it from a handshake. As a matter of fact, number 6 and 7, we do it from a handshake. But number 6, we grab the hand where the thumbs are on the outside. Number 7, we trap the thumb. It has nothing to do with the wrist lock. We just want you getting used to sometimes doing this and sometimes doing that. That's the only thing. It has nothing to do with the wrist lock. So number 6, we grab with both hands. I'm basically going to turn his palm down and snap it up. So I do that in one motion. Then I go underneath. Then from this position, I flatten his hand, push on the elbow, and I'm just simply going to pull on the hand. I sometimes like to move the small finger on top too. We'll talk about that later when we get to number 12. But 12 and 7, or 12 and 6 are basically the same wrist lock. It's just done from 2 different positions. So to demonstrate this again, I'm grabbing, I snap, I go underneath, push up on the elbow, flatten the hand, pull the hand towards me, and once again, I'm doing 2 moves. I'm turning the hand this way as I'm pulling it in. So I want to turn and rotate as I'm pulling it in, okay? So that's number 6. Number 7, we grab, but this time, like I said, we practice it usually trapping the thumb. Not that it has anything to do with anything. I could do this without the thumb. It has nothing to do with it other than just getting used to any grip. I grab with both hands, I swing it, and I turn all the way until I face him. Sometimes people want to stop halfway or 3/4 of the way. You want to make sure that you get all the way till you face him. And notice how his arm is laying on top of my arm. And then I'm just going to pull down on the wrist, okay? So let's go ahead and demonstrate that one more time. So I'm here, I swing it, I turn all the way until I face him, and then I'm here, okay? That is number 7. Now, number 8 and 9 are from swinging club attacks. They look the same. Sometimes people learn these and they get very confused because it looks the same, but they're very, very different. So we're going to talk about the difference. Number 8, he swings and I block same side. Number 9, I'm going to block cross. Number 8, I'm trying to come underneath and strike this radial nerve here. And the purpose of doing that is to force him to bend his arm so that I can hook it. Number 9, I'm not trying to force him to bend his arm. Number 9, I'm just going over, trapping it to my body. And most people, your bicep, your tricep, those are your strongest muscles in your arm. So if I'm trying to push on his arm and he doesn't want to bend it, I'm going to get stuck here. Now that's part of the reason we strike, is because sometimes that strike with number 8 forces them to fold it. But number 9, instead of me forcing him to fold it, I'm just going to force him to turn his arm this way. And those little muscles here are just not strong enough to fight someone turning or rotating the shoulder. All right, so number 8, he comes in and I block. I force him to fold his arm. I hook my own wrist, and then I'm just pushing it down, and that's rotating the shoulder this way. All right. Number 9, he swings, and I block with the opposite arm. I go over and hook the elbow to my body, and then I just simply turn. All right. So now to demonstrate this, he swings it with his other arm, so you can see this one. I go over, and I turn just like this. Okay. So that way you can see that. Number 10, 11, and 12 are all from pushing attacks. Now number 10, he goes to push, and I'm going to catch his fingers like this. So to learn how to do this, we have you, go ahead and slide over here. We just have you catch or learn to put your hand just like this, okay? So you go to push, and I'm just going to catch his hand like this. I go over and lock it to my body, and then all I'm going to do is turn and face him, okay? So once again, he's coming in, and I just catch it. I lock the palm heel, this part of his hand, right against me. And by the way, notice how my hand is open. Sometimes people will try to cup their own arm. Don't do that. Leave the knife edge like this, like you're doing a cross block. So he comes in here, lock it, and then from this position, I just step back like I'm going to a kiva. And all I'm doing is turning his hand this way. See, the hand was designed to turn this way, so there's no pain or discomfort. But as soon as I try to turn the hand this way, the hand was not designed to go that way. So that's what creates the pain or discomfort. So he goes to push, and I catch, I lock it, and then I just step back. Now in real life, you probably wouldn't try to catch somebody's hand like this. The more effective way of doing this is he goes to push, and as he does, I just catch his hand against my body. So as soon as his hand makes contact, I just catch it, and then I would do the same thing without my hand being here. I just lay it, and it's right there. Okay, so just to let you see a more realistic application of it. But to teach you the mechanics, we have the person push, and you learn to catch it, lock it, and turn. Okay? Now the next one, you catch the same exact way, but this time you're taking your elbow and you're putting it right against the back of their wrist, their hand. There's a little nerve right there, and that's where you're trying to lay your elbow. You're going to make your fist with your thumb punch, and that's going to go under this nerve right here. If their arm is too short, then you'll be going to this nerve. If their arm is long, then you'll be sliding back to this nerve. So you just hit one of those 3 nerves right there. Then your elbow, if they have a short arm, then your elbow will go on the nerve on the top here. If their arm is about the same size as yours, then you'll hit this radial nerve. And if their arm is longer than yours, then your elbow will go on top of this nerve. So you're trying to hit a nerve here, you're trying to hit a nerve here with your elbow on top, and you're trying to hit the nerve from underneath here all at the same time. And then while you're trying to hit all 3 of those nerves, you pull back on the fingers. So he goes to push, and I catch, put my elbow here, I make my fist with my thumb, and I put that underneath. I put my elbow on top, and then I just pull on those fingers, and that is wrist lock number 12. Number 13, no, I'm sorry, that was number 11. Number 12, he goes to push again, and this time I catch with the opposite hand. Now, like I said earlier, this is a lot like number 6, but we're doing it from a pushing attack, and instead of catching it this way now, I catch it this way. So our thumbs are facing away from each other, okay? Sometimes people will try to do it this way because we were doing this earlier, but this time my thumb is that way, his thumb is there. I take my thumb and use it to push his small finger behind his hand, and then all I do is turn his hand, push behind the elbow, and I've got it right there, okay? So just watch this one more time. I catch and turn, okay? And number 13. Now, number 13 sometimes gets confusing with number 2. Number 2, we're actually flipping the hand over. The advantage to that, so if you want to put them in arm bars or do certain maneuvers, this is a lot better and easier. The disadvantage with number 2 is it doesn't put them in as much direct pain as quickly. Number 13, you're getting a hold of the hand, and the idea is you take the knife edge and you're trying to touch the wrist. So instead of flipping the hand, I'm now going to rotate the hand this way, and when I do, that's what creates immediate pain and discomfort. So the way we get there is he goes to punch this time, and I do a palm block to the inside. I grab his hand. I'm going to take this part of the hand, my instructor used to call this the Okinawa tag, and we lay it against our body. I take the other hand and I just hook it. And once I have it with both hands, I'm just going to bow to him. And you see that using my whole body weight, I'm rotating his wrist this way. Okay? Then once I have this clamp, to make this worse, you bend the elbow, and what that does, that overextends that part, that tendon, those muscles right there, and those bones. And now when I go to bow, it makes it so much more painful because I'm bending his arm. Then, because we don't think he's in enough pain, we get a hold of the first 2 fingers here, and now once again, I'm going to rotate this way as I keep his elbow bent, and now it should even be more painful. So it's like each one, it's the same wrist lock, but each one keeps getting worse. So we have you do this variation where you bow, then we do this variation and bow, and then we do this variation and bow, and those are all 3 done as part of number 13. All right, I'm going to very quickly go through all 13 of them one more time just so you can see it. So wrist lock number 1, it's right here, same side. Number 2, I'm using my cross hand and I'm flipping it over the other way. Number 3, putting my hand against the wrist behind the elbow, and I'm right here turning the wrist. Number 4, I turn my hand palm up so we can hook the thumbs, strike, I go behind, and I'm right here. Number 5, I just make a triangle around his hand, lift it up, and then I'm just pulling down. Number 6, it's like we're shaking hands. I snap it up, I go underneath, I push up on his elbow, I flatten his hand, and I pull it towards me, okay? Number 7, I trap the thumb this time, I swing it, and I turn all the way till I face him. The key to this is also make sure you're facing him just like this and trying to pull down on this wrist. See, I've got a wrist lock right here, so I'm going to pull down on that hand right here as I keep the elbow right there, okay? Number 8, he goes to swing, and I go block, I strike, hook my wrist, and then I'm just pushing down. Number 9, he swings and I block with the opposite arm, and I grab my own arm, I hook it, or I lock his elbow against my body, and I turn. Okay, and I know you can't see that, so just because it's fun. All right, then the next one, number 10, he goes to push, and I catch it same side. So notice if he's pushing with his right hand, I'm catching it this way, same side. I go over, lock it, and turn towards you so we can smile. All right, now he's going to push again, and I catch again. Now I put the elbow against the back of the hand, make that fist with the thumb, elbow on top, go right underneath, pull on the fingers as you get all 3 of those points. Number 12, he's pushing, and now instead of catching this way, catching with the opposite hand like this, take that thumb, push that small finger behind his hand, and then I just flip it and push on the elbow. Last but not least, he goes to punch, and I do a palm block, I lock it to the body, and then I'm going to bow, bend the elbow, I'm going to bow, grab the fingers, bow. Please don't bite their fingers. It's not very sanitary, even though it might be kind of fun. All right, face your partner, bow. I hope this helps you. I was trying to do a very thorough explanation of the wrist locks and arm locks, and of course, like everything else, it just needs to be practiced over and over. It's one of those things that to get a grade off for purple belt going to brown belt, we just want you to have the general idea. As you continue to train and the years go by, you will refine the movements and you'll figure them out to a point as you're working with different people and constantly practicing them. You'll learn better and better ways of making them work in all kinds of different circumstances. And once you start form sparring and adding it to your form sparring, you'll see where these wrist locks and arm locks come in handy. All right, you guys have a great night. We'll see you sometime soon.